The morning frost clung to the windows of Buckingham Palace like delicate lace as Guardsman Thomas Mitchell adjusted his red tunic one final time. December 25, 2017, had arrived with the crisp bite of London winter, and today would be different from any other day in his 5-year service to the Crown. The Queen's annual Christmas message was scheduled to be filmed, and the selection of guards for this historic moment had been made weeks earlier. Thomas stood 6 feet 2 inches tall, his black bearskin hat adding another 18 inches to his already imposing frame. The weight of tradition rested on his shoulders as heavily as the ceremonial uniform itself. Each thread of his scarlet coat told a story spanning centuries. Each button polished to mirror, perfection reflected the dedication of countless guardsmen who had stood before him. The corridors of the palace buzzed with quiet activity as staff members prepared for the day's filming. Camera crews had arrived before dawn, their equipment cases rolling across marble floors that had witnessed the footsteps of monarchs for generations. Sound technicians tested microphones while lighting specialists positioned their gear with military precision, understanding that this message would reach millions of homes across the Commonwealth. In the guards' preparation room, Thomas joined his fellow guardsmen in their final inspection ritual. Sergeant Major Williams, a man whose 30-year career had made him legendary among the ranks, moved between each soldier with the eye of someone who understood that perfection was not merely expected, but demanded. Every brass button received his scrutiny, every crease in every trouser was examined, and every piece of equipment was checked twice. The bearskin hats, those iconic symbols of British pageantry, sat on their stands like silent sentinels. Made from the fur of Canadian black bears, each hat represented a tradition dating back to the Battle of Waterloo in 1815, when the Guards defeated Napoleon's Imperial Guard and claimed their distinctive headwear as a trophy of victory. Thomas ran his white-gloved hand along the smooth fur of his hat, feeling the weight of history in that simple gesture. Outside the palace walls, London was beginning to stir with Christmas morning activity. Families across the nation would soon gather around their televisions, a tradition as ingrained in British culture as Christmas pudding and Boxing Day sales. The Queen's message had been broadcast every Christmas since 1957, missing only 1 year in 1969, when Her Majesty decided the royal family had been in the public eye enough that year. The guards understood their role extended far beyond mere ceremony. They were the living embodiment of stability, continuity, and unwavering service. In a world increasingly marked by change and uncertainty, their red tunics and stoic presence represented something enduring and reliable. They were not just soldiers. They were symbols of a nation's identity and values. Thomas remembered his grandfather's stories about watching the Christmas broadcast during his own childhood in Liverpool. The old man would sit in his favorite chair, wearing his best Sunday clothes despite being in his own home, and listen to every word the Queen spoke with reverence and attention. It was a connection that transcended social class and geography, uniting the nation in a shared moment of reflection and hope. The rehearsal had taken place 3 days earlier, with stand-ins replacing the actual guards while camera angles were perfected and lighting adjusted. Every detail had been planned with military precision, from the exact positioning of each guardsman to the timing of their movements. The director, a seasoned professional who had worked on royal broadcasts for over 2 decades, understood that there was no room for error when filming began. As the morning progressed, Thomas could feel the familiar transformation taking place within himself. The uniform had a way of changing a person, of connecting the wearer to something larger than individual identity. When he put on the red tunic and tall hat, Thomas Mitchell, the young man from Yorkshire, became part of something eternal and magnificent. He became a guardian of tradition, a protector of ceremony, and a representative of duty itself. The Queen's private secretary appeared in the doorway, clipboard in hand, announcing that filming would commence in 30 minutes. The guards straightened imperceptibly, though they were already standing at perfect attention. This was their moment to serve not just the crown, but the millions of people who would see their image broadcast around the world. Through the tall windows of the palace, the winter sun cast long shadows across the courtyard where tourists usually gathered to witness the changing of the guard. Today, the space was empty except for security personnel and the occasional palace cat that wandered the grounds with the confidence of longtime residents. The silence felt profound, as if the very building was holding its breath in anticipation of the historic moment to come. In just a few hours, the Queen would deliver her message to the nation and Commonwealth, speaking of the year's challenges and triumphs of hope for the future, and of the enduring values that bind communities together. Behind her, standing as still as statues but as alert as sentries, the guards would represent the unbreakable connection between past and present, between tradition and progress. Thomas checked his watch one final time, noting that his hands remained steady despite the significance of the moment. 5 years of training and service had prepared him for this day, but nothing could diminish the honor he felt at being chosen to stand guard during one of the most important royal broadcasts of the year. The red tunic felt heavier than usual, weighted not just with fabric and brass but with the trust placed in him by his superiors and his nation. The Christmas message filming was about to begin, and history was waiting. The grand staircase of Buckingham Palace echoed with the measured footsteps of the selected guardsmen as they made their way to the filming location. Each step was deliberate and precise, their movements synchronized through years of drill and ceremony. The crimson carpet beneath their polished boots had witnessed countless historic moments, from state visits to royal weddings, but today felt uniquely special in its quiet intensity. Guardsman Mitchell followed Sergeant Major Williams through the ornate corridors, passing portraits of monarchs whose reigns stretched back centuries. Queen Victoria's stern gaze seemed to watch their procession, while paintings of King George VI reminded them of the courage required during the nation's darkest hours. The current queen had inherited not just a crown, but a legacy of service that these guards were now privileged to protect and represent. The white drawing room had been transformed into a television studio, though the cameras and lighting equipment seemed almost invisible against the room's magnificent decor. Crystal chandeliers caught the morning light streaming through tall windows, while gold-leafed furniture and priceless artwork provided a backdrop that spoke of Britain's cultural heritage. The room itself was a testament to the grandeur and continuity of the monarchy. Thomas took his assigned position near the ornate fireplace, its marble surround carved with intricate details that had taken craftsmen months to complete over 2 centuries ago. From this vantage point, he could see the entire room while maintaining the peripheral vision necessary to monitor for any potential security concerns. His training had taught him to be simultaneously invisible and completely alert, a contradiction that required years to master. The film crew worked with quiet efficiency, their movements careful and respectful in the royal setting. The director, a woman whose gray hair spoke of decades in broadcasting, communicated with her team through subtle hand signals and whispered instructions. She understood that any disruption to the solemn atmosphere could affect the quality of the Queen's delivery, and her reputation had been built on creating perfect conditions for royal broadcasts. Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II entered the room with the grace and dignity that had defined her 65-year reign. At 91 years old, she moved with purpose and authority, her Christmas Day outfit carefully chosen to convey both festive celebration and royal gravitas. The pale blue dress complemented the room's decor, while her signature pearls caught the carefully positioned studio lights. Thomas felt his spine straighten further as the Queen took her position at the antique desk that had been selected for the filming. The desk itself had belonged to Prince Albert, Queen Victoria's beloved consort, and its use in the Christmas broadcast created another link between past and present. Every element of the scene had been chosen to reinforce the themes of continuity and tradition that would permeate the Queen's message. The television cameras, despite their modern technology, seemed to disappear into the room's classical architecture. The lighting had been arranged to appear natural, as if the Queen were simply sitting in her drawing room on a quiet Christmas morning, speaking to old friends rather than addressing hundreds of millions of viewers across the globe. This illusion of intimacy was central to the broadcast's enduring appeal. As final preparations continued, Thomas reflected on the unique nature of his role. Unlike the guards who stood sentry outside the palace gates, visible to tourists and photographers, his presence today would be subtle, almost subliminal. Television viewers might catch glimpses of red tunics in the background, but the guards' primary function was to provide an atmosphere of security and ceremony rather than to be the focus of attention themselves. The Queen's private secretary moved discreetly around the room, making final adjustments to lighting and ensuring that every detail met the exacting standards required for a royal broadcast. The Christmas message was more than entertainment or information. It was a constitutional moment when the monarch spoke directly to her subjects without the mediation of government or parliament. The responsibility for creating the perfect conditions for this communication rested on everyone present. Sound technicians conducted their final checks, their sensitive equipment designed to capture every nuance of the Queen's voice, while filtering out any unwanted background noise. The microphones, nearly invisible in their careful placement, would carry her words to living rooms from Aberdeen to Auckland, from Cardiff to Calgary. The technical precision required to broadcast simultaneously across multiple time zones added another layer of complexity to the production. Thomas could see his reflection in the polished surface of a nearby table, his red tunic a splash of color against the room's predominantly pale palette. The uniform that had felt so familiar during daily duties now seemed to carry additional weight, imbued with the significance of the moment. He was not just representing the Queen's Guard, but serving as a visual symbol of the military's loyalty to the Crown and Constitution. The director called for silence as the countdown to filming began. In these final moments before the cameras rolled, the room held a profound quiet that seemed to acknowledge the historical importance of what was about to unfold. The Queen's Christmas message would join a tradition stretching back 60 years, adding another chapter to a uniquely British institution. Her Majesty adjusted her position slightly, her hands folded calmly in her lap, as she prepared to address her subjects on this most sacred of Christian holidays. Behind her, the guard stood ready to fulfill their ancient duty of protection and service, their presence a reminder that the monarchy, like the nation itself, endured through the dedication of ordinary people, committed to extraordinary ideals. The red tunics would soon become part of Christmas tradition once again, their wearers standing as silent witnesses to history in the making. The television cameras began rolling at precisely 11:30 in the morning, their red recording lights creating tiny dots of color in the ornate room. Queen Elizabeth II sat composed at the antique desk, her hands folded with the practiced ease of someone who had delivered this annual message for 6 decades. The guards remained perfectly still, their breathing controlled and silent, trained to become living statues when duty demanded. Thomas felt time slow as the historic moment unfolded before him. The Queen's voice, clear and measured despite her advanced age, began the carefully crafted words that would reach across oceans and continents. Her message spoke of the year's challenges and celebrations, of the Commonwealth's enduring bonds, and of the hope that Christmas represented for people of all backgrounds and beliefs. Behind the cameras, production assistants monitored multiple screens showing different angles of the filming. The main camera focused on the Queen's face, capturing the sincerity and warmth that had made her Christmas messages beloved traditions in millions of homes. Secondary cameras positioned around the room provided wider shots that included glimpses of the magnificent setting and, occasionally, the red-coated figures standing guard. The white drawing room's acoustics, designed in an era before electronic amplification, carried the Queen's voice with perfect clarity. Every word reached the sensitive microphones without echo or distortion, a testament to the Georgian architects who had created this space over 2 centuries earlier. The room itself seemed to enhance the dignity and authority of the monarch's words, lending additional weight to her annual message of unity and peace. Thomas remained focused on his security duties, while simultaneously marveling at the historic moment he was witnessing. The Queen spoke of the previous year's events, including the terror attacks that had shaken London and Manchester, praising the resilience and courage of ordinary citizens who had faced extraordinary circumstances. Her words carried the weight of personal experience, having lived through the London Blitz and countless other national crises during her long reign. The television director, monitoring the broadcast from her position behind the main camera, occasionally signaled for subtle adjustments to lighting or camera angles. Her team responded with silent precision, understanding that any disruption could affect the solemnity of the moment. The broadcast was being recorded rather than transmitted live, but the Queen preferred to deliver her message in a single take, making every moment crucial to the production's success. Guardsman Williams, positioned near the room's entrance, maintained constant surveillance of the surrounding area while keeping one ear attuned to the Queen's speech. His experience had taught him to process multiple streams of information simultaneously, monitoring for security threats while respecting the ceremonial nature of the occasion. The Christmas message filming required a unique blend of military alertness and courtly discretion. The Queen's words touched on the importance of home and family, themes that resonated particularly strongly during the Christmas season. She spoke of the Commonwealth as an extended family, bound together by shared values and mutual respect, rather than by political or economic compulsion. Her message emphasized the strength found in diversity and the importance of understanding between different communities and cultures. As the filming continued, Thomas reflected on his own family's Christmas traditions. His parents and younger sister would be watching the broadcast later that evening, probably unaware that their son stood just meters away from the Queen as she spoke. The irony was not lost on him that while he was participating in one of Britain's most cherished traditions, he would miss his own family's Christmas celebration for the sake of duty. The television crew worked with choreographed precision, their movements minimal and respectful. Camera operators adjusted their positions with fluid grace, seeking the perfect angles to capture both the Queen's dignity and the room's magnificent setting. The lighting technicians made subtle adjustments to ensure that every detail remained clearly visible without creating harsh shadows or unflattering contrasts. Outside the palace walls, London was experiencing a typical Christmas morning. Families were beginning their holiday celebrations, children were unwrapping presents, and the aroma of Christmas dinners was starting to fill homes across the capital. Yet inside this room, time seemed suspended as the Queen delivered words that would become part of the historical record, joining the archive of Christmas messages that stretched back to the beginning of the television age. The Queen's speech addressed the challenges facing the world in 2017, from international tensions to domestic concerns about unity and social cohesion. Her words offered comfort and encouragement, while acknowledging the real difficulties that many of her subjects faced. The Christmas message had always been personal rather than political, focusing on shared human experiences rather than partisan issues. Thomas noticed how the Queen's confidence seemed to grow as she progressed through her prepared text. Despite her age, her voice remained strong and clear, each word carefully enunciated for the benefit of viewers who might struggle with hearing, or for whom English was not their first language. The Christmas message was designed to be inclusive and accessible, reaching the widest possible audience across the Commonwealth and beyond. The cameras captured not just the Queen's words, but the entire atmosphere of the moment. The soft winter light filtering through the tall windows, the gleam of polished furniture, and the subtle presence of the guards all contributed to an image that would be broadcast around the world. Every element worked together to create a picture of stability, tradition, and quiet authority that had become synonymous with the British monarchy. As the Queen approached the conclusion of her message, Thomas felt a profound sense of privilege at having witnessed this moment from such close proximity. History was being made in this room, and he was not merely an observer but an active participant in maintaining the security and dignity that made such moments possible. The Queen's voice carried through the white drawing room with increasing warmth as she reached the heart of her Christmas message. She spoke of the power of light to overcome darkness, both literally and metaphorically, drawing on the Christian symbolism of Christmas while making her message accessible to people of all faiths and backgrounds. Her words reflected decades of experience in addressing a diverse Commonwealth, understanding that unity could be built on shared values rather than identical beliefs. Thomas felt a bead of perspiration forming beneath his bearskin hat, despite the room's comfortable temperature. The physical demands of maintaining perfect posture for extended periods were challenging enough, but the added pressure of being filmed for a global audience intensified every aspect of his duty. He controlled his breathing carefully, ensuring that no movement of his chest would be visible through his red tunic. The television director monitored multiple screens simultaneously, each displaying different camera angles and technical readouts. Her headset crackled occasionally with whispered communications from her technical team, all working to ensure that this historic broadcast met the highest professional standards. The Christmas message would be transmitted to over 50 countries within hours of filming, making technical perfection essential to its success. Behind the Queen, an oil painting of King George III gazed down upon the scene with painted eyes that had witnessed the transformation of the monarchy from absolute rule to constitutional democracy. The juxtaposition of past and present was deliberate, reinforcing the themes of continuity and adaptation that characterize the modern British monarchy. Every element in the room had been chosen to tell the story of an institution that had evolved while maintaining its essential character. Guardsman Williams shifted his weight almost imperceptibly, a movement so subtle that only his fellow guards would have noticed. His 30 years of service had taught him to read the subtle signs of fatigue and to make microscopic adjustments that would prevent more obvious discomfort later. The skill of maintaining perfect posture for extended periods was learned through years of practice and discipline. The Queen's message touched on the importance of reconciliation and forgiveness, themes that seemed particularly relevant in a year that had seen significant political divisions across the Western world. Her words carefully avoided partisan politics while addressing the human need for understanding and cooperation. The Christmas message had always walked this delicate line, offering guidance and comfort without straying into controversial territory. The main camera operator, a veteran of royal broadcasts spanning 3 decades, adjusted his focus with the practiced skill of someone who understood the rhythm and flow of the Queen's speaking style. He had filmed her Christmas messages since the 1980s and could anticipate her slight pauses and emphasis with remarkable accuracy. His experience was invaluable in creating the seamless, professional quality that viewers expected from royal broadcasts. Thomas allowed his mind to wander briefly to the millions of people who would watch this broadcast in the coming hours. Families gathered around television sets in Australia would see the guards' red tunics as symbols of tradition and stability. Children in Canada would catch glimpses of the magnificent palace rooms and dream of fairy tale castles. Elderly viewers in remote Commonwealth nations would hear familiar accents and values that connected them to a broader community. The Queen spoke of the Christmas story's message of hope and renewal, drawing parallels between the biblical narrative and the challenges facing the modern world. Her religious faith, always present but never imposed, provided a foundation for her annual message that resonated with believers while remaining respectful of those who held different views. The Christmas broadcast had always been inclusive in its approach, seeking to unite rather than divide. Sound technicians in the adjoining room monitored audio levels with precision, ensuring that every word would be clearly audible to viewers regardless of their location or equipment quality. The technical complexity of preparing a broadcast for global transmission required expertise and attention to detail that remained invisible to the viewing audience but was essential to the message's effectiveness. Ornate ceiling of the white drawing room, decorated with intricate plasterwork that had taken master craftsmen months to complete, provided a magnificent backdrop for the royal broadcast. The artistic details, from delicate cornices to elaborate centerpieces, spoke of an era when such work was considered an investment in beauty that would last for centuries. The room itself was a testament to the values of craftsmanship and permanence that the monarchy sought to represent. As the Queen progressed through her speech, Thomas reflected on the unique privilege of serving as a royal guard during such moments. Few people in history had been positioned to witness the creation of documents and broadcasts that would be studied by future historians. His presence in this room placed him at the intersection of ceremony and governance, tradition and communication, personal service and national duty. The television cameras captured not just the Queen's words but the entire ambiance of the moment. The soft light filtering through Georgian windows, the gleam of carefully polished furniture, and the subtle presence of the guards created an image that would represent Britain to the world. Every element contributed to a picture of dignity, stability, and quiet confidence that had become the hallmark of royal broadcasts. The Queen's message addressed the challenges of maintaining community bonds in an increasingly connected yet fragmented world. She spoke of the importance of face-to-face relationships and local connections, while acknowledging the benefits of global communication and understanding. Her words reflected the wisdom of someone who had witnessed remarkable changes in technology and society during her long reign. Behind the cameras, production assistants prepared for the broadcast's conclusion, knowing that the final moments would require the same precision and attention to detail that had characterized the entire filming process. The Christmas message would end with the playing of the national anthem, a moment that would require perfect coordination between all members of the production team. The Queen's words began to build toward their conclusion, her voice carrying the weight of personal conviction as she spoke about the enduring power of hope in the face of adversity. The royal guards remained motionless as living statues, their red tunics creating splashes of vibrant color against the room's elegant pale decor. Each guard understood that their silent presence was contributing to a moment that would be remembered. Long after they had completed their service to the Crown, Thomas felt the profound responsibility of his position. As he stood witness to history being created, the Queen's Christmas message would join an archive spanning 6 decades, each annual broadcast capturing a moment in time while contributing to an ongoing conversation between the monarch and her subjects. His role was to protect not just the Queen's physical safety, but the dignity and solemnity that made such communications possible. The television production team worked with practiced efficiency, their movements coordinated through years of collaboration on royal broadcasts. Camera operators tracked the Queen's slight movements with fluid precision, while sound technicians ensured that every word would reach viewers with perfect clarity. The Christmas message demanded technical excellence that would be invisible to audiences, but essential to the broadcast's impact and effectiveness. Behind the Queen, family photographs arranged on polished tables told the story of a life dedicated to service, while remaining deeply rooted in personal relationships. Images of children and grandchildren, of state visits and private moments, created a backdrop that humanized the monarch while maintaining the dignity appropriate to her constitutional role. Every element in the room had been carefully chosen to balance accessibility with authority. The Queen spoke of the Christmas story's message of peace and goodwill, drawing connections between ancient wisdom and contemporary challenges. Her words addressed the universal human needs for security, belonging, and purpose while acknowledging the diverse ways these needs might be met across different cultures and communities. The Christmas message had always sought to find common ground among the Commonwealth's remarkably diverse populations. Guardsman Williams maintained his surveillance of the room's perimeter while listening to the Queen's words with the attention of someone who understood their historical significance. His 3 decades of service had given him perspective on the evolution of royal duties and responsibilities, witnessing how tradition adapted to changing times while maintaining its essential character. The Christmas broadcast exemplified this balance between continuity and adaptation. The white drawing room's magnificent chandelier cast gentle light across the scene, its crystal elements creating subtle patterns that shifted almost imperceptibly as the Earth's rotation changed the angle of sunlight streaming through tall windows. The interplay of natural and artificial light had been carefully calculated to provide optimal conditions for filming while maintaining the room's inherent beauty and elegance. Thomas reflected on the millions of people who would gather around television sets in the coming hours, united by their shared viewing of this annual tradition. From hospital wards to military bases, from family homes to retirement communities, the Queen's message would reach people facing every conceivable circumstance. The guard's presence symbolized the protection and stability that made such peaceful moments of reflection possible. The Queen's speech addressed the importance of service to others, a theme that resonated deeply with the military personnel standing behind her. She spoke of the satisfaction found in contributing to something larger than individual concerns, of the strength discovered through sacrifice and dedication. Her words reflected personal understanding gained through decades of placing duty before personal preference. Camera operators captured wide shots that included glimpses of the guards, their red tunics providing visual punctuation to the Queen's words. The contrast between the ornate civilian decor and the military presence was deliberate, representing the balance between ceremonial pageantry and practical security that characterized the modern monarchy. Every visual element contributed to the broadcast's overall message of stability and continuity. The television director monitored timing carefully, knowing that the Christmas message needed to conclude at precisely the right moment for global broadcast schedules. Her experience with royal productions had taught her to anticipate the Queen's natural rhythm while maintaining the technical precision required for international transmission. The broadcast would reach audiences across multiple time zones within hours of filming. Behind the cameras, production assistants prepared graphics and technical elements that would be added during post-production. The Queen's message would be accompanied by carefully selected imagery showing scenes from across the Commonwealth, reinforcing themes of diversity and unity that characterized her annual address. Every element was designed to enhance rather than compete with the monarch's words. The Queen spoke of the responsibility that came with freedom, addressing audiences who lived under democratic governments while remaining respectful of the various political systems represented across the Commonwealth. Her message emphasized shared values rather than specific institutional arrangements, seeking to unite people around common aspirations for peace, prosperity, and mutual understanding. Thomas felt his focus intensify as the broadcast approached its conclusion, knowing that the final moments required the same precision and attention that had characterized the entire filming process. The Queen's closing words would be followed by the national anthem, a moment that would require perfect coordination between all members of the production team and security detail. The ornate furniture surrounding the filming area represented centuries of royal history, from pieces acquired by Georgian monarchs to items commissioned during the Victorian era. Each element told part of the story of an institution that had survived and thrived through remarkable changes in society, technology, and global politics. The Christmas message was broadcast from a room that embodied the continuity the monarchy sought to represent. As the Queen prepared to deliver her final words, the guards stood ready to maintain their vigil until the cameras stopped rolling and beyond. Their duty extended past the conclusion of filming, ensuring that the dignity and security of the royal household were maintained throughout the production process and during the careful dismantling of equipment that would follow. The Queen's voice carried a note of warmth and personal conviction as she approached the final paragraphs of her Christmas message. Her words spoke of the light that overcomes darkness, drawing on both Christian symbolism and universal human experience to offer comfort and encouragement to viewers facing their own challenges. The guards remained perfectly still, their red tunics serving as silent symbols of the stability and protection that made such moments of peaceful reflection possible. Thomas felt time moving differently in this historic moment, each second seeming to expand with significance while the overall experience felt surprisingly brief. The privilege of standing so close to the monarch during one of her most important annual duties created a profound sense of connection to the institution he served. His role was both humble and essential, providing security that was nearly invisible but absolutely necessary. The television cameras continued their subtle movements, capturing the Queen's facial expressions and gestures with equipment sophisticated enough to record every nuance of her delivery. The main camera operator, veteran of dozens of royal broadcasts, adjusted focus with the instinctive timing that came from years of experience filming the monarch's public appearances. His technical skill was essential to preserving this moment for posterity. Behind the Queen, the white drawing room's magnificent decor provided a backdrop that spoke of British cultural heritage and artistic achievement. Paintings by renowned artists hung in gold frames that had been crafted by master artisans generations earlier. The room itself was a testament to the values of excellence and permanence that the monarchy sought to embody and protect for future generations. The Queen's message touched on the importance of hope in overcoming division and discord, themes that seemed particularly relevant in a world grappling with political polarization and social fragmentation. Her words carefully avoided partisan politics while addressing the fundamental human need for unity and understanding. The Christmas broadcast had always served as a unifying force, bringing together people of different backgrounds around shared values and aspirations. Guardsman Williams maintained his vigilant surveillance while simultaneously processing the historical significance of the moment he was witnessing. His 30 years of service had provided perspective on the evolution of royal duties and the changing relationship between the monarchy and the British public. The Christmas message represented continuity in an era of rapid change, offering stability and reassurance to audiences across the Commonwealth. The sound technicians monitored audio levels with scientific precision, ensuring that the Queen's words would be clearly audible to viewers regardless of their equipment or location. The technical complexity of preparing a broadcast for global transmission across multiple languages and time zones required expertise that remained invisible to audiences but was essential to the message's effectiveness and reach. Thomas reflected on the unique nature of the Christmassy message as both personal communication and constitutional act. The Queen spoke directly to her subjects without the mediation of government ministers or parliamentary procedures, creating an intimate connection that transcended the formal structures of modern democracy. This annual tradition represented one of the few remaining direct links between monarch and people. The Queen's words addressed the challenges facing families and communities in an era of economic uncertainty and social change. She spoke with the authority of someone who had witnessed the nation's recovery from World War, the transformation of empire into commonwealth, and the technological revolution that had reshaped human communication. Her perspective spanned decades of remarkable change while maintaining consistent values. Camera operators captured wide shots that included glimpses of the room's magnificent architecture and decorative details, creating visual context that reinforced the themes of tradition and continuity that characterized the royal broadcast. The contrast between ornate civilian decor and the military presence of the guards represented the balance between ceremonial pageantry and practical governance that defined the modern monarchy. The television director coordinated final technical preparations while monitoring multiple screens showing different camera angles and broadcast feeds. Her experience with royal productions had taught her to balance the competing demands of technical excellence and respectful discretion, ensuring that the broadcast met professional standards while maintaining the dignity appropriate to the occasion. The Queen spoke of the Christmas story's message of love conquering fear, drawing parallels between biblical narrative and contemporary challenges facing individuals and communities. Her religious faith, always present but never imposed, provided a foundation for hope that resonated with believers while remaining respectful of those who held different views. The Christmas message had always been inclusive in its approach to spirituality and meaning. Behind the cameras, production assistants prepared for the broadcast's conclusion, knowing that the final moments would require the same precision and coordination that had characterized the entire filming process. The Christmas message would end with carefully selected imagery and music that would reinforce the themes of unity and hope that had permeated the Queen's words. Thomas felt his concentration intensify as the broadcast approached its climax, understanding that these final moments were crucial to the overall impact of the Queen's message. His role was to maintain security and dignity until the cameras stopped rolling and beyond, ensuring that the royal household's reputation for excellence extended to every aspect of the production process. The ornate ceiling of the white drawing room, decorated with intricate plasterwork that represented the finest craftsmanship of the Georgian era, provided a magnificent canopy for this historic moment. The artistic details spoke of an era when such work was considered an investment in beauty and permanence, values that the monarchy continued to represent in an increasingly disposable world. As the Queen prepared to deliver her concluding words, the guards stood ready to maintain their vigil throughout the remainder of the production process. Their duty would continue until the equipment was carefully removed and the room restored to its normal configuration, ensuring that every aspect of the royal household's operations met the highest standards of excellence and discretion. The Queen's final words resonated through the white drawing room with quiet authority and genuine warmth, bringing her 2017 Christmas message to a close that would be remembered for its themes of hope, unity, and resilience. Her voice carried the weight of decades of experience addressing the nation during times of celebration and crisis, offering comfort and guidance with the wisdom that came from a lifetime of dedicated service. Thomas felt the conclusion of the historic moment approaching, though his duties would continue until every piece of equipment had been removed and the room restored to its normal state. The filming had lasted approximately 8 minutes, but those minutes would be replayed countless times across the globe, reaching hundreds of millions of viewers who would draw inspiration and comfort from the Queen's words. The television cameras captured the Queen's final gesture, a slight nod that seemed to acknowledge not just the immediate audience, but the millions of people who would receive her message in the coming hours. The main camera operator held his position for several seconds after she finished speaking, understanding that these concluding moments were essential to the broadcast's emotional impact and historical significance. Behind the cameras, the production team maintained their professional silence while internally celebrating the successful completion of another royal Christmas broadcast. The director monitored her screens carefully, ensuring that every technical element was properly recorded before signaling the end of filming. Her decades of experience with royal productions had taught her that the conclusion required the same precision and attention to detail that had characterized every moment of the broadcast. The Queen rose from her position at the antique desk with the same grace and dignity that had marked her entrance to the room. Her Christmas message was complete, but the day's responsibilities were far from over. She would review the broadcast footage later that afternoon, ensuring that it met her exacting standards before authorizing its release to broadcasters around the world. The monarch's personal involvement in every aspect of the Christmas message reflected her understanding of its importance to the Commonwealth. Thomas and his fellow guards maintained their positions as the royal party prepared to leave the White Drawing Room. Their training had taught them that security duties continued until the Queen was safely away from the filming area and all equipment had been properly secured. The transition from active filming to post-production required the same vigilance and professionalism that had characterized their service throughout the morning. The sound technicians began their careful process of dismantling recording equipment, each piece representing thousands of pounds worth of sophisticated technology that had been temporarily installed in one of Britain's most historic rooms. Their work required delicate handling of both modern electronics and priceless antique furnishings, a combination that demanded expertise and extreme care from every member of the production team. Sergeant Major Williams coordinated the guards' withdrawal from the filming area, ensuring that their departure maintained the same military precision that had characterized their arrival. His experience had taught him that the conclusion of ceremonial duties was as important as their execution, requiring attention to protocol and procedure that reflected the high standards expected of the Queen's Guard in all circumstances. The White Drawing Room began its transformation back to a private royal apartment, though traces of the morning's historic activities would linger in the memories of everyone who had participated. The ornate furniture would be returned to its usual arrangement, the family photographs repositioned exactly as they had been before filming began. The room's return to normalcy was itself a testament to the seamless integration of public duty and private life that characterized the modern monarchy. Thomas felt a profound sense of accomplishment as he prepared to leave the filming location. His 5 years of service had included many significant ceremonies and state occasions, but standing guard during the Queen's Christmas message held special meaning. The annual broadcast reached more people than any other royal event, making his contribution to its success part of a tradition that connected millions of families across the Commonwealth. The television director conducted final checks with her technical team, ensuring that all footage had been properly recorded and backed up before beginning the post-production process. The Christmas message would undergo careful editing and enhancement over the following hours, with graphics and music added to complement the Queen's words. The finished broadcast would be distributed to television networks worldwide in time for Christmas Day transmission. Outside the palace walls, London continued its Christmas morning activities, unaware that history had just been made in the rooms above. Families were gathering for holiday celebrations. Children were playing with new toys, and the aroma of Christmas dinners was beginning to fill homes across the capital. The contrast between the private nature of the filming and its global impact reflected the unique position of the monarchy in contemporary society. The guards' red tunics, which had provided visual symbols of tradition and stability throughout the filming, would soon return to their normal duties of palace security and ceremonial functions. But for Thomas and his colleagues, the memory of standing behind the Queen as she delivered her Christmas message would remain a highlight of their military careers, a moment when they had served not just the crown but the millions of people who found comfort and inspiration in the annual tradition. As the production team completed their work and began removing equipment from the White Drawing Room, the guards maintained their professional vigilance until the last camera had been carefully packed away. Their duties had extended far beyond mere ceremony, encompassing the practical responsibilities of security and the symbolic importance of representing military service to the crown. The successful completion of the Christmas message filming was a testament to the dedication and professionalism of everyone involved. The 2017 Christmas message would soon join the archive of royal broadcasts stretching back to the beginning of the television age, each annual address capturing a moment in time while contributing to an ongoing conversation between monarch and subjects. The guards who had stood behind the Queen during filming had played their part in maintaining a tradition that would continue long after their own service had concluded, their red tunics becoming part of the visual legacy of one of Britain's most cherished institutions.